Hiya, it's Vince here again, doing another Grow Joe, this time for my class on options, but other people can access it and they can have a look and see what we're doing. We're here in the gardens of the school. We've picked a tiny bit where it's not raining. Ideally you should prune on a dry day, but we're going to show you how to prune fruit trees. Now this is an apple tree. It's grown really well this year. It's got all this long leggy growth. However, that's not the most important stuff. The important stuff is these things here, which is the tiny bits, right? These are the fruiting spurs for next year. So these are where I get my apples off, and hopefully we get better apples on this next year. Now, to encourage these, I want to take off this long leggy growth, because this is going to make my tree grow too high, and nobody wants apples, you know, sort of 20 foot up a tree where you can't pick them. Everybody wants them where you can pick them. So I'm going to prune my apple tree. I'll just clip my secateurs back for a second. Always put the safety clip on when you're not using them. I want my apple tree, if you hold your hands together, hold them like that, that is a perfect apple tree shape. It's like a basket, open in the middle, but lots of air can get around it, lots of sunshine. Your apples are on the outside where they're easy to pick, and also it doesn't get too high because you've taken out the centre. So something like the centre, which has already been removed on this, gone, right? However, we want to reduce some of these leggy growths. Well, these leggy growths are really not too bad, but they're in the wrong place. So I'll find a nice outward facing bud that points in the direction I want. This bud points in the direction towards me, and then I look about a centimetre above it and clip it. It's as simple as that. Any branches, we'll have a little mover, right. Any branches that are going in towards the centre of the tree, I want that out. I don't want branches in the centre of the tree, so that comes out. Fruiting spurs, I want to keep them in. I don't mind them being there, but I'm looking for these leggy things. This leggy thing here, it's going to make my tree thick in the centre, so I'm going to take that right out, like that. And I'll work my way through until everything is how I want it to be. Okay, this is a normal apple. This, on the other hand, is a plum. Don't touch it this time of year, whatever you do. Plums do not need pruning now. Plums, you prune them after you've got rid of the fruit on them. After you pick the fruit, prune them then. Got one or two weird bits happening on this one. Graft union is down there. We'll talk about grafts in a minute. This looks like it's straight from the graft. It's not the Warwickshire drooper that this is. Believe it or not, that is the name of a plum. So this is the grafted stock. It looks like it. It's quite different from the rest of the tree. Now, believe it or not, plums sometimes have spines, so be careful. I'll sort that one out next year sometime. Don't want to do it now, don't be pushed into it. All the apples to do now, all the pears to do now, that's the most important bit. And also, if you've got a lot of disease on one of your trees, sterilise your secateurs, dip them in mets, and that will make them nice and sterile. Okay, I'm going to go into the polytunnel now, and we're going to look at some grass. Follow me. Yeah, crawl up that side of the table, you'll be fine. Okay, now, apple trees are grafted on a rooting stock. Now the rooting stock usually sits in a pot like that, or sits in the open ground. For convenience today, I'm going to show you how to do it inside a polytunnel. Now, what you really want to do, imagine that stuck in the ground with roots on the other end, is clip it back till you've got a nice bit of stem, right? That's your nice bit of stem there, right? you've got a bud there. So what we're going to do, this is providing you can use a knife. If you're not, get somebody to help you. This is what I call a grafting block. You can make them up if you're a little bit nervous with knives. There's a ridge on top of it here. It's nice to stick one side of your stem. Use as little of the blade as possible, and you want to scratch just beneath the bark all the way up the branch to the top. Yep. And then you want to slowly work the skin of the graft open. There you go, opening up nicely. So this is actually called a side veneer graft. It's a lot easier to practice this on a few bits of twig than it is when you start to graft for the first time your first apple or pear tree outside. So practice makes perfect, and this time of year is perfect to practice because there'll be lots of bits to prune off your apple trees. So what I've done there, if you can see, I've opened up the skin, just the skin, so there's like a little flap there, and there's the same on the other side. Now another little wonderful trick with my little grafting block here is that I can stick something in like that, then I can get the blade out, and holding it I can do that. Well, that's a bit too oblique there. So I have a piece to graft like that. I'm not happy with that. Let's do it again. Do it as many times as you like. There's no shortage of this stuff. There. Nice sharp side veneer. Then that goes in to the top here, and it slides under the bark nice and tight to the stem there. Nice and gentle, you've got plenty of time, there's no hurry on these. That is a side veneer graft. Okay, so if that had got a root on, I'd be looking forward to an apple tree ready in a couple of years. And believe it or not, the first year they're called maiden whips, and after that they're called 1, 2 year, 3 year. When you buy them in a bag from Tesco's, they're usually about 3 or 4 years old. Now this wants wrapping. Now what I would wrap it with is a bit of cling film, a plastic bag, something like that. Wrap it nice and tight and tied off. Just keeps all the lurgies away from it. If you can find it, you can put on grafting wax. I've used candle wax before and it still works. That is your side veneer graft. Be careful if you've not used knives before. You have to use a Stanley knife, and you have to use a new blade. The block I'm showing you has got a hole drilled through it, right through at an angle, so the hole goes through at that angle. Awkward to do, but you can get somebody to do it for you. And then I've just got a gouged ridge out there, and that helps when I've got a piece of grafting material, because then you've got something to put the blade against when you cut in, when you're opening up the sides of the veneer graft. Okay, now this I'm not expecting you to do. What I am expecting you to do is go out and look for grafts. Now grafts, the reason you graft is because you've got one tree which has got a good root and a strong tree, and the other one which has got good fruit. So you could graft apple trees onto crab apples and have apples you can eat. Not only that, if you've got an apple tree that never produces fruit, maybe because it's not got another one to pollinate it with. So you can take a branch of a pollinator and graft it onto the same tree. So you have one tree, but you have a pollinator and a fruit on it, and it will fruit nicely. Okay, that's today's Glojo. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a bit unplanned, but look for grafts. Apple trees, fruit trees, ornamental trees, and you can see the little scabby union in between the root and the stem. Okay,
Thanks for today.